1970 as they relate to the case of David Keaton.
Well, around 2:30, Officer Thomas Reynolds and myself went in. I went on over to the tobacco counter and gave me some chaw, and Thomas, he headed on back toward the milk case, and I heard this nigger tell him, "Get on over there, I got no time to fool with you." So I headed on over towards the milk case. This boy, he had himself a gun. He just said, "Get on over there, don't give us no trouble." And he had like kind of afro haircut. I mean, not a full-on afro, but it looked like he was trying to grow some of that there afro hair. And he had like a little mustache, best I can remember. I mean, everything was going so fast there. And the other one was standing over where they had about 5 or 6 customers tied up on the floor. And he was around 6 foot tall. And then the third son of a bitch on his forehead, well, you seen him, kind of looked like he had like a scar or something.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, they told us to give them all our money, so we did, around $32 worth. And then they said, well, we want them there watches too. Well, didn't neither one of us pull our watches off. And they told us to get down on the floor, so we did. And then, then one of the niggers, he reached on over to get some pantyhose to tie us up with. And that's when me and Thomas sprang up on him. Well, ain't nobody gonna be tying me up with no goddamn pantyhose. And around that time, that's when the third son of a bitch come running down and shooting on us. And he must have shot 18 or 20 times during the ruckus there. And the 2 hit me, and well, the 2 hit Thomas. And I could see he was dead. And the niggers, they just up and disappeared.
Mr. Carroll, listen to these people talk. Do they have any type of accent? Did they sound like local people, or were they from out of state?
Nah, they just sound like regular niggers to me.
I was just 18, man. I ain't know the rules. I mean, they kept on talking and threatening me and all that, and I was afraid, man. They take you in there, beat you up, mess you up, string you up, and nobody ever heard nothing else about you. So I said, okay, to prevent all that, I'm going to go ahead and confess to the crime. I mean, I know I didn't do it, and the witnesses are going to know that too, because I just wasn't there, and they would have seen that. So I say, okay, to prevent all, that, they gave me all the information already, so all I got to do is put some names to the spots, and we could all be free.
Sonny Jacobs. In 1976, I was sentenced to death row, which for me wasn't a row at all, because I was the only woman in the country who got a sentence to death. So I suggested they put me in the same cell as my husband. But let me start at the beginning. When I was 26, Jesse and I had been together for 3 years. We weren't officially married, but I considered him my husband. And a daughter had just been born. Jesse said he was going to get himself a regular job, maybe painting murals or something. He just needed to go to Florida one last time to do a little deal. Now, I didn't want to know about this deal. I knew it wasn't positive, it wasn't violent, but it wasn't positive. Well, anyway, he calls finally and says the deal fell through. And not only is he broke and has no way home, but he's staying with some girl. So of course me, instead of saying, when you get it together, me and the kids will be right there waiting for you, I said, I'll be right there to get you. So, my son Eric was 9, and I'm driving and shifting and singing and nursing Tina all at the same time. And, it was like driving through the 10 plagues. The first one being, like the oil leaking out all over the road. And the final one, those love bugs that smash themselves on your window? Well, anyway, we get there. Get Jesse. The car dies. So Jesse says he knows this guy he can ask that we can stay with until we get together enough money to get back home. So we're all stuck in Florida, staying with this guy, Walter Rhodes. We're all stuck in Florida, staying at Walter Rhodes' apartment. And it's a real sleazebag place. I mean, he was obviously doing illegal activities.
Hey, folks, we're going to take off. Any chance you could give us a lift over to my friend in Broward County?
Oh, that's late. I don't know if I want to be out on the road.
Well, come on, man. Nothing ever happens in Broward.
It was so weird. My son Eric woke up screaming in the middle of the night. He had this nightmare that something terrible was going to happen to us. And it did.
It's not easy to feel good in winter winds, when ice is everywhere and you just want to sing. I'm Delbert. I'm a child of the 60s and 70s, right? So much of the philosophy that people were motivated by during those times, I was and continue to be motivated by. I have an ongoing and abiding interest in things philosophical and metaphysical. And so, in 1972, I attended seminary for a year and a half. But the racism there was so pervasive, you could cut it with a knife. So I decided that the seminary wasn't going to take me where I wanted to go. So I dropped out and started roaming America. Tuning in is what we called it. Tune in, turn on, and drop out. And I haven't turned off for a long time now. So that's where I was at. And I happened to be on the highway when some crazy stuff happened. A guy was killed, a young woman was raped, and I happened to be on the highway in Florida. And I knew some folks were going to say, what's this nigga doing? And so forth. But my attitude was, fuck that. I'm an American citizen. And I've served in the armed forces of the United States of America and all that kind of shit. The point I'm trying to make is that in my mind, I decided I was going to be free in terms of my movements. That I would go wherever I wanted to go in these United States. And if trouble came out of that, then I would deal with it when it came. And sure enough, trouble came, because this crime had occurred. And I was on the highway. So I was stopped and questioned. And the captain wrote me out a note saying,
This person was stopped by me on this day unsatisfied that he's not the person wanted in connection with the crimes that occurred in southern Florida.
Now, initially, the girl who survived the thing, she described the murderer as a black male about 5'6", very dark complexion, pock-marked skin, and a bush afro. Now that don't fit me no matter how you draw it. Except racially, that's the only thing we had in common. We're both black men. But now, it's been 2 weeks or so since the crime has occurred, and I'm in Mississippi, but they gotta find somebody because this small town in Florida is in hysterics. There's a nigger running around killing white men and raping white women. And you can't have that, understandably. So anyway, a Mississippi cop stops me. And I said to him, no, I'm not. I was stopped in Florida, and to the satisfaction of the Florida Highway Patrol, I'm not the person you're looking for. He says, in effect, bullshit. He says, you're Delbert. I have the warrant for your arrest. And they arrested me in Mississippi.
I might as well be wearing a sign saying, arrest me, I'm black.
I mean, it's always something. It's not all police officers. It's not all white. But it's just those few that make the rest of them look so bad.
And baby, hypothetically, if me and a white woman had notification, the cop would come to me and be like, well, it's okay for her. But for me, he's gonna say, well, he touched her breast, he touched her booty, and there goes the wildfire.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just white people either. It's black folks too.
Oh, baby, there was this one time, me and this white guy were just sitting at the gas station, right? Just sitting there talking. And some white cop comes back around just to talk to us. And he don't even ask me what the problem was. He asked the white guy what the problem was. He told him,
That problem over here, I see both of you guys talking and moving your hands.
now, if you haven't noticed, the black guy does talk with his hands. But the white guy said,
No, me and Robert, we just sitting out there talking.
You know Robert?
Yeah, I've been over here for the longest.
Oh, I thought he was harassing you.
Okay.
see now, God put everything on this earth. He put the ass, he put the fleas, but there's some stuff about white folks that I just don't like. But I'm not gonna go around calling them crackers or nothing, or get my cousins.
Oh, don't
'cause I
call
get
your
my
cousin, baby. Your cousin is crazy.
Look, if anybody has anything to be mad about anybody within this country, should have been the Indians. But I think it's getting better now, especially in Mississippi. Because if it wasn't, I'd be here saying yes ma'am, yes Miss Daisy. Maybe it is going good, you know what I'm saying?
Well, but Robert, in my honest opinion, you're never going to get rid of them. Because my father taught me that things pass down from generation to generation. And if the older generation teaches the younger generation, then it ain't never going to go away.
No time for dreams in this world. No space to place words in some lovely configuration. Deliberation is not the method for passage through these woods. Cold, tired, if you dream in this world, it is dangerous.
My son Eric couldn't sleep because of the nightmare, and I just couldn't stay another night with Rose. So he finally agreed to give me, Jesse, and the kids a ride, and we left. But the traffic got bad, it was getting late, so the decision was made to pull off the road until morning. And according to police reports, the cops came to do a routine check on the rest area. When they look in the window, they see a gun between Rhodes' feet. They order Rhodes out of the car and ask for his ID. The policeman calls in his ID information and then tells Rhodes,
Stand over there, I'm finished with you.
and then they ask my husband Jesse to get out. And then the police radio comes over with the announcement that Rhodes is on parole. And possession of a gun is a parole violation. And that changed everything. The policeman drew his gun. He said,
Okay, the next one to move is dead.
It all happened so fast, I just ducked to cover the kids. And then it was silence. I mean dead silence. There wasn't an earthly sound. Then Rhodes comes running around in front of the police car with a gun in his hand, and he's saying,
Get in, we're gonna take the police car.
I mean, Rhodes had just killed a policeman, had a gun, and was telling us to get in the police car. And you know, people say, why didn't you just refuse to get in? And I think, you have never been at the other end of a gun, have you? So, we get in the police car. We couldn't speak. We were kidnapped at that point. We didn't dare. Then, all of a sudden, traffic gets terrible. And I can hear helicopters. And I know there must be a roadblock. Hey, help is on the way. We're going to be rescued. You know, the cavalry? And then out of the blue, Rhodes makes a sharp left to try and avoid the roadblock. And a whole line of policemen opens fire on the car. I mean, the car was literally bouncing with bullets. And again, I ducked to cover the kids. And we crash. And then a bunch of cops surround us. And I am trying to explain that we were kidnapped. But they just wouldn't listen.
All right, Sonia. What do you want me to call you, Sonny?
It doesn't matter.
Sonny, do you know what today's date is?
I think it's the 20th.
Is it Friday?
Let me inject one thing here. Are you aware of the fact that you've been charged and arrested of first-degree murder?
Just told me now.
I took a polygraph test around midnight. It wouldn't let me sleep. It wouldn't let me lie down. The polygraph examiner said he cannot pass me because of flatlines due to fatigue. Well, duh. It's midnight. I've been under questioning now for 6 hours and my parents have just been murdered. About 1 a.m. they got 3 or 4 photos of my parents with their heads pulled back. You can look down their throat and the detectives yelling.
How could you do this?
How could you kill this woman? The person who gave birth to you.
And this is how the interrogation went. I was in such a vulnerable and suggestible state of finding my parents and not knowing what happened. I was emotionally distraught. I was physically exhausted. I was confused. I had 15 cups of coffee. I was spaced out. And the police used that. They said that they had all the evidence, that they didn't even need my confession. They said that I had the bloody fingerprints, the weapon, everything. I was brainwashed, man. They told me.
We can't lie to you. We lose our jobs.
They sounded very sincere, too. Very believable. They started to make me think I had a blackout and actually done it. I said, look, if I killed my parents, I want to know about it. So I said, okay, if I can construct the situation in my mind, I finally volunteered to give what they call a vision statement, a hypothetical account of what it would be like if I had killed my parents.
To try and jog your memory.
Well, I guess I would have gotten up that
You
morning,
better stay. He got up that morning.
and my mom would have been out there
Now,
with
he
the
looked
trailer.
outside, he saw his mother in the trailer.
Then I would have gotten dressed, and I would have had to have had a knife in my pocket.
Indicated for his pants on. He had a knife in his pants
I would have
pocket.
went out to the
Now,
trailer.
you
my
walked
mom
over to
said.
the trailer and stepped up on the porch.
Walked, he opened the door and walked in.
I would have reached out toward my
Now,
mom.
he reached out, grabbed her with his left hand, and cut her throat with his right.
I never would have hurt her. They used that vision statement for a confession, and they wouldn't listen to anything besides how I would have done it. Any time I tried to say anything else, they would just holler at me, and holler at me, and holler at me. After I made this statement about my mom, I cried for about 3 minutes, and then I told them how I would kill my father. And I said, this is just hypothetical. I have absolutely no memory of any of this. The autopsy showed that everything I said in those statements was wrong, but nothing was written down. Nothing was recorded. At the trial, they said that I was never under arrest, that I was free to go at any time. and that I had voluntarily chatted